Hello and welcome to our Engineering Skills Starter session. Now I'm sorry, but what a mess. I've been trying to make a prototype for one of the engineering activities, but I'm afraid it's going completely wrong. Actually, it's a bit of a disaster. I know what I want to do in my head, but my technical skills need a bit of work, don't you think? I wonder what the problem is. Let's take a look. The sections for the sides are not equal, and the cutting is not accurate or precise. The sides don't seem to match up. In fact, they're different lengths. Maybe I ought to have measured more accurately. And look at this wonky edge. I think my cutting skills need to be a little bit more precise too. Do you know what I mean by precise and accurate? Precise means exact, as close to perfect as you can get. And accurate, well, that means you are really, really close to a measurement or how something should look. I wonder if we can work on these skills together. What tools do I need to measure and cut? Let's have a look. So we've got a range of different tools here that I might use to measure and cut things. We've got a few different rulers. So we've got a metal ruler here and a couple of plastic rulers. And then for cutting, we've got some scissors. And actually, if you look very carefully, we've got a ruler. We've got along one of the blades on the scissors to measure centimetres. As does the cutting mat here. It has a centimetre ruler based on here. So all of the squares on here are actually centimetre size squares. And also for cutting, we've got a hacksaw and a craft knife as well. I wonder what skill I need to practice first. I think I need to work on my drawing and measuring skills. After all, the sides of my model car wouldn't match because my measurements were not accurate enough. So where do we begin? We need to choose the right measuring tool for the right job. I need to measure in centimetres and millimetres, measuring straight lines. At least that's what my instructions say. So which ruler shall I use? I've got a couple of different options here. I think I'm going to use this one, the clear plastic ruler. Now, where do I begin? I need to make sure that I always measure from the same point. In this case, I will start measuring from 0. Can you see where the 0 is on this ruler? There actually isn't one, but we can see on our scale here that we're counting down 3, 2, 1. So we can work out that this must be the start of the ruler. So this is 0 here. But notice that we get a little gap before the end of the ruler. You don't want to make the mistake of starting from the end of the ruler, and maybe that's the mistake I made when I was measuring before. Some rulers also have different scales. This ruler has centimetres and also millimetres as well. Let's practice reading some measurements. So let's try measuring these lines nice and precisely. So I place my ruler on. Remember what I said before, we need to make sure that we start from the 0 here. So I make sure that the ruler is lined up on the 0 at the start of the line. And then I read off the scale. I can see that this line is 80 millimetres, which is also the same as, if we use centimetres, 8 centimetres for that first line. Let's go on to the second one. Again, let's place it. Oh, nearly made a mistake there. Notice how I've got the ruler, the edge of the ruler on the edge of the line, not the 0. So let's move that along a little bit. And again, read off. We can see that that is, well, it's greater than 6, less than 7. I can actually read off the individual, the scale here. It's 6.5 centimetres. That one. And finally, let's measure this line. A little bit trickier, this one. Because I can see it's greater than 7, so I'm going to look very carefully at the millimetre scale. It's 7.1, 0.2, 0.3, so it's 7 centimetres and 3 millimetres, or 7.3 centimetres. Now, what we're going to do now is I'm going to place the ruler on, and I want you to have a go at reading the lengths of these lines. So let me place the ruler on this line here, and we'll get a good close-up for you here. In fact, I'm just going to pull it down ever so slightly, just below the line to help for you reading the length of the line. So I'm going to pause over to you to have a go at reading how long that line is. I hope you got that was 10 centimetres for that line there. Let's have another go for this line here. Pause the video if you need to, have a discussion. How long do you think this line is? And I will go quiet for a second. And if you've unpaused me now, I can confirm that that line is 7.3 centimetres in length. And the last one here, let's place it on like so. Bit of a tricky one that. Look very carefully where the line is finishing. Read from the scale. I've double checked that I've got the ruler starting at 0. Pause me now. And then unpause me when you want to hear what I think the length of the line is. Okay, how did you get on with that one? I think that line is 12 centimetres and 0.1, 2, 3, 4. So 12.4 centimetres. Now I can read a measure, I need to practice drawing a line that is 15 centimetres. So I'm going to align my piece of paper with the edge of the table here so that it's parallel to it like that. And then I'm going to place my ruler against the edge of the paper so it's also parallel. And I'm going to make sure that the 0 starts at the edge of the paper. I'm going to use a claw grip like so to hold the ruler down and keep it nice and steady. Make sure I've got a really sharp pencil, which I do, and I'm going to draw my 15 centimetre line. So along we go to 15 centimetres. So just having a double check there, I'm reading it, yep, it's gone to 15 centimetres. Pull my ruler away and you can see my nice sharp line. So have I drawn a line that is 15 centimetres? Let's have a double check. We're going to check this together. So I'm going to take my ruler, place it back on against the line, 0 at the start of the line, place it down, and we can see, yes, indeed, I'm happy with that. It is 15 centimetres long. Now it's over to you. If we can draw and measure accurately, then our designs and models will fit together as they should, and maybe then I can stop worrying about my prototype. Brilliant work, everyone. You can draw and measure accurately, and if you keep practicing, you can be really precise with your models, and they will fit together really well. But I made another mistake. Can you remember what that was? Wonky lines. My cutting is not so great. So let's see what went wrong. Let's try cutting along the lines that I've got here. And maybe these aren't the right scissors. Hang on, let's try using slightly different ones here. Nope, that's not doing a very good job either, is it? Ah, it must be these ones that I need to use. Let's try using these ones. Yeah, I think my cutting needs some work as well. So you might have seen lots of different types of scissors around school and at home. So we have scissors that are suited to people that use their left hand rather than a right hand. There are also adapted scissors that don't require you to place your fingers in them and just require a motion of squeezing and opening a hand to help cut. So that might be for people that have restricted movement in their hands. Do you have some scissors ready? Let's see how precise we can be. I'm going to use these scissors. So I'm going to make sure that I'm holding them correctly. So I place my thumb in and my second finger into the scissors, and my index finger sits just under there, and I'm going to hold the paper. Again, I'm going to hold it so the back edge of the paper is sort of parallel to the table, so I'm keeping it nice and square. And then I'm going to make sure I take slow and steady cuts along the line that I have drawn, and I'm going to stop there, right at the end of the line. So we can see now we've got a much more accurate cut along the line that we have drawn. Over to you, have a practice. Why not start with those lines you've already measured, or draw some new ones on your paper first? Start with the straight lines, then mix it up. After all, the world isn't just built on straight lines, it's engineered in so many different ways. Well done everyone. Look at the difference my precise and accurate measuring and cutting skills have made with this shell structure compared with my first prototype. But wait a minute, sometimes I need to cut inside a shape like this. How do I cut this? It looks impossible, right? You may think you need a knife, and sometimes you do, but you can still use scissors, believe it or not. You can do this in a few different ways. And it depends on the size of the line, how flat your shape needs to be, your paper needs to be, and even the size of your scissors. So here's one idea. You can fold the paper in half at right angles and to the direction of the line that you're cutting, and you can cut in here. Not going to go the whole way to the end just yet. I'm going to open it up, and then I'm going to continue the cut in that direction and in that direction as well. So that's one way of doing it. But sometimes you might not want to fold the paper completely, as you want the paper, whatever you're cutting, to be flat. So another way of doing it is just placing a bit of a bend into the paper that you're cutting, or the surface you're cutting, and do a small snip. And then we can open up again and get our scissors in and continue our cut in both directions, like so. And then we don't have a fold in the piece of paper that we were cutting or card. And finally, if you need to keep your shape as flat can be, you may need to make a hole. Now with stiffer materials, you might want to use a bradawl. Like this one here that you might have seen around in school, but I'm not going to use one of these today. But the next best thing is a sharp pencil and a piece of blue tack. But look after the blue tack because it's precious stuff in the classroom. So I'm going to roll the blue tack into a small ball, and I'm going to place it underneath the paper at the point where the line is. And I'm going to take the pencil, the sharp pencil, and I'm going to push through the line like so into the blue tack. So then we can repeat this to just make our hole a little bit larger. So I'm going to make sure I stay on the line still, place the pencil through there and place the pencil through there like so. And now I can actually get the scissors into that hole and just extend out ever so carefully to make the full length of the line cut that we wanted in the shape, like so. So if your materials are thicker than what we've been working with today with the paper, then you might need to use different tools to cut them. So we mentioned earlier that we have a hacksaw here that can be used to cut materials such as wood. And also we have the craft knife that you might use cutting onto a mat. I hope you've enjoyed this session on how to improve your measuring and cutting skills. And here are some questions to be thinking about before we do our next session together. I wonder what will happen if my measure and cuts are more accurate. What if I need to change the shape to fit? What observations and measurements will you need to make? Does it matter what tools you use? Is it better to use different equipment for larger prototypes? What if the surface I'm cutting is uneven?